Hello everyone and welcome to your 1 hour yoga class today. Thank you for practicing with me. My name is Rachel. We'll get started at the back of our mats in a child's pose. If child's pose isn't particularly comfortable for you, you can come into any position that is comfortable for a bit of a longer period of time, because we'll start with a little bit of a meditation before moving. So if you're more comfortable in a seat, maybe with a block or a heavy thick book under the hips, you can be cross-legged. You can also lie down on your back if you'd rather start there today. Otherwise, if a child's pose is comfortable for you, taking the knees either wide or hip distance apart, big toes touch, walking the hands out in front of you, nice and long, bringing the forehead to the mat or a block, and hips sink towards heels. Take a moment to arrive in whichever posture you've chosen. Bring your attention fully to whatever space you're in, to the earth beneath you, and to your breath, becoming conscious of wherever it's coming into the body. Notice how the breath is always there, how the heart is always beating. How your body is always working for you. Take a moment to show some gratitude for that and arrive fully in this moment in your body. As with our yoga practice, we come out of autopilot and tune into those subtleties, those autonomic bodily processes, and we slow them down. Ask your body, or maybe your heart, what it needs today. Maybe you turn the answer, if there is one, into an intention, a sankalpa for your practice, maybe for the rest of your day, your week. If nothing comes, that's okay. Maybe you choose openness to whatever may come. If something does appear in the mind that feels right and intuitive for you, narrow it down to just 1 or 2 words that you can state in your mind clearly and genuinely. 3 times, repeat that word or few words. Let go of that sankalpa and know that you will remember it when you need it. In traditional yogic philosophy, there are 8 limbs or steps on the path of yoga. And the first 2 of these steps, the most foundational ones, are called the yamas and niyamas. They are ethical and moral guidelines for living first with others, and then in the niyamas with ourselves. The theme I'm offering for you for this practice is one of the niyamas called Santosha. This translates to inner contentment. For you, this might resonate better as inner peace, satisfaction. But it is basically the peace or knowing that we have within us beyond any external attachments, any external validation, whether that's from people, from our yoga postures, from our jobs, whatever activities keep us busy. Santosha is the contentment we have within us, regardless of all of those other things. And yoga is such a powerful practice for cultivating this inner contentment and peace, because we come into stillness, we look inwards in this practice. Throughout today's class, I will be offering the mantra, I am enough just as I am. If that resonates with you, you might like to repeat it in the mind when I say it, to remind yourself that regardless of how the shapes may look that you're making, or regardless of how your body's feeling, you're enough, however you show up to yourself and to others. Take one last conscious breath before we begin some movement, deep into the belly, and sigh it out through the mouth. If you aren't in your child's pose already, please come into it if it's available to you. And the offering here is to either come onto your fingertips, extending and activating through the arms, lifting up through the shoulders and the chest, or you can bring the hands onto blocks or heavy books if you have them. Gaze is still downwards towards the mat. Maybe the forehead even comes down, but the chest and the shoulders are lifted. Finding our first bit of strength through the upper body here as we continue to lengthen through the spine in our balasana, our child's pose. Keep breathing in the belly and up into the heart that's getting opened here for the first time. Take slow exhales out, allowing your parasympathetic nervous system to be activated, our relaxation response. When this nervous system is activated, we're in a state of openness to social engagement, to learning, to rest and digestion. Bring the hands off the blocks and release your hands from fingertips and begin to walk the hands in towards the torso, coming up into a seat. If it's not comfortable for you to sit like this, you can invite a block or your heavy book under the hips to elevate the hips away from the heels slightly and engage a neutral spine posture. From here, we'll connect breath to movement as we inhale, arms rise up above the head. As the hands touch, inhale effortlessly flows into an exhale as the hands come to heart. Inhale, arms rise up above the head. Exhale, hands to heart. Two more like that. Inhale, arms rise. Exhale, just as the hands touch, we flow into that exhale, and inhale, arms rise. Exhale, hands to heart, stay there for a moment, Anjali Mudra. And then flickering open the eyes, clasp your hands and just take some gentle stretches through the wrists here. Taking those fingertips side to side in a kind of figure eight. And then bring that clasp behind your back to your lower spine. Draw the hands away from the body as you open up the chest and the shoulders. keep a micro bend in the arms if they're straightening out. And then bring the hands over to the right hip. The right shoulder draws in towards the left and the shoulders draw back and down, nice and relaxed, away from the ears. You can draw the right ear towards the right shoulder, finding a gentle or maybe not so gentle stretch through the left side of the neck. You might like to turn the chin down and up, exploring the neck here. And then bring the head back to center. Draw the fists away from you again and bring it back to your lower back. Release and bring the clasp through onto the unfamiliar grip so the other thumb comes on top. Draw the arms away from you again, opening through the chest. Then bring the hands to the left side of the hip. Left elbow draws in towards right and left ear comes towards left shoulder. Again, you can move dynamically here, stretching out through the neck. Come back to center, extend the arms away from you again. Maybe look up for a moment, opening through the chest a bit deeper, finding a gentle back bend. And exhale, release the hands gently back to your sides. We'll take some warming up through the hands here. So from your seated position, begin flicking the hands in front of the body as if you're flicking water away. Coming to the sides and up above the head. Keep with it. You might start to feel some activation through the forearms, through the wrists. Back in front of you, little duck hands. We warm up through the hands to find a nice grip on the mat, but also because our hands are an extension of our heart. We'll be working with opening up the heart, connecting to that space within us. Coming to the sides if you're not there already. And then up above the head. 10 more. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Whew. That can be quite fiery, so take a moment, hands facing up on the thighs. Feel energy buzzing through the hands, the arms, maybe the shoulders. And then taking your time, releasing any props that you're sitting on and coming into a 4-point kneel, wrists under shoulders and knees under hips. Make sure you're pressing strongly through into the mat, so either peace fingers or index fingers facing forward and knuckles, fingertips and heels of the hands are all pressing down strongly. Inhale, tailbone lifts, chest opens, gaze lifts, cow pose. Exhale, tailbone tucks under, rounding through the spine as the chin comes towards the chest. Inhale, lifting, chest opens. Exhale, rounding through the spine, chin to chest. Continue like that in your own breath. Biddalasana, cat-cow pose, a great way for mobilizing the spine at the beginning of our practice. Take one more round in your own breath. On your next inhale, come back to a neutral spine in between both of those poses. Tuck the toes under and just for a moment, lift the knees off the earth 1 inch. Stay there, keep the breath long. Keep the fingers drawing down, knuckles grounded on the mat. One last inhale and release. Good job. You can untuck the toes, bring the weight into the left hand, and as you inhale, draw the right arm back and up in a circle before exhaling, threading through under the left arm. Keep the shoulder lifted. Again, like that, inhale, arm goes back and up, then threads under the left arm. One last time, then we'll land. Inhale, back and up. Exhale, shoulder lands, maybe side of the cheek, maybe back of the hand. Keep the left hip drawing back in space here, squaring off through the hips. You may like to walk the left fingertips forward slightly, opening through the chest a bit more. Return to the breath here in our twist through the spine and the belly. Walk the hand back in front of the face if it's moved away. Inhale, lift the arm up, hand to the sky, maybe look up for a moment, and exhale, return it back to earth. Take one cat-cow in between sides. Inhale, lifting through the chest. Exhale, chin to chest. Inhale, back to neutral. Take a moment here. Next, inhale, left arm goes back and up. And exhale, threading through the right, shoulder stays lifted. Inhale, back and up. Exhale, threading through. One last one. Inhale, back and up and thread through. Take your time, lowering the shoulder, maybe the cheek, maybe the hand. Keep the right hip drawing back this time. Maybe walk the right fingertips forward. Walk the right hand back in front of the face. Inhale, lift the left hand up to the sky. Maybe look up for a moment, expanding open. And exhale, release the hand back down to the earth. Great, tuck the toes back under. Maybe walk the hands a handspan forward. Press the fingertips strong into the mat. And as you exhale, lift the knees, tuck, peel, lift the hips up to the sky, downward facing dog. Keep a generous bend in your knees here, prioritizing length through the spine from the hips out the crown of the head. Wrap the elbows in towards each other to engage through the arms and find external rotation through the shoulders. Keep the ribs zipped in. Come back to the breath. Walk the hands back towards your feet, finding your forward fold. You can bring the hand on a block here, even a chair. You can also bring the elbows to your thighs, palms in prayer, if you find you get dizzy with the head below the heart. Otherwise, letting the head and neck hang heavy as you bend the knees as much as you need to draw the front of the upper body towards the front of the lower body, finding contact between the torso and the tops of the thighs. I am enough just as I am. I am enough just as I am. Inhale, halfway lift, fingertips to shins, or they remain on the mat, opening through the chest and the chin stays tucked in. Gaze should be just in front of you on the mat or maybe a bit ahead of you. Exhale, release. Walk the hands back out, finding your downward facing dog for a moment before lowering back down onto the knees, untucking the toes. You can take a gentle rest in Balasana. Otherwise, we will keep working in our tabletop position here. From here, keep the hips exactly as they are as you draw the right heel back and straighten the right leg. Notice if you open up towards the right through the hips and keep that right hip drawing down, finding alignment in the pelvis. From here, keep the hips where they are, lift the heel up in line with the hips or maybe a little bit lower. You're welcome to stay here, or maybe you get light on the left hand and the left bicep comes alongside the left ear. Inhale, lengthen wherever you are. Exhale, elbow to knee or in towards the chest. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, right knee to right elbow on the outside, and the left hand comes towards the lower back. Swooping around. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, right knee, right elbow or shoulder. Inhale, lengthen. Lower the left hand if it's lifted. Bring the right toes to the back left corner of your mat, so crossing over the left leg, and take a stretch through the right side body as you look over the left shoulder towards the foot. Remember the breath. Inhale, lengthen back to center. Exhale, bring the knee in towards the chest, and the right foot comes between the hands. You might need to lift up and help that foot forward. That's completely okay. Keep the right knee above the right heel here, so it shouldn't be splaying forward in front of that. It can be a bit further back, but aim for that alignment stacking on top of the heel. Inhale, arms rise. Keep the right hip drawing back, left hip drawing forward here. Inhale, lengthen through the fingertips. Exhale, cactus the arms. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, cactus. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, cactus. Keep the lower belly zipping in and up. Inhale, lengthen. Lower the hands back down. If you have a block or a book, you can bring it under the left hand on the inside of the right foot. Otherwise, plant the left hand on the ground in front of you. You're welcome to stay here. If you'd like to come into a more of a strengthening variation of this posture, you can tuck the back toe, and keeping the hips at the same level, begin to draw the left heel back towards the back of the room or wherever you are, straightening through the back knee. Keep the alignment of the front knee, integrity through the shape. Whichever variation of this posture you're in, you can inhale the right arm up to the sky, twisting through the chest and the spine here. If you have that twist, begin to draw the right arm forward in front of you as far as you can, keeping integrity through the legs, and then back behind you, swooping back in a big circle, taking a few rounds like that. Keep the breath long and conscious here. Sinking breath to movement. Yoga traditionally translates as union, very simply. So in our practice, we focus on finding union and complete connection between the breath, between movement, the mind, consciousness. Come back to center, torso facing down, hands planted on either side of the right foot. Press through the hands and lift the back knee if it's not lifted already, and bring the right foot to meet the left back into your downward facing dog. Come back to your 4-point kneel. Going on to the other side, if you need to rest in child's pose at any point, please do so. Bring the left heel back behind you, straightening through the leg. Hips stay aligned. Maybe left heel lifts, maybe right arm extends beside you. Inhale, lengthen wherever you are. Exhale, crunching in. Inhale. Exhale, make a little ball with the body. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, left knee, left elbow or shoulder. Right hand maybe swoops back. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, crunch. Inhale, lengthen. Right hand comes back to the mat if it's lifted. Left toes come to the back edge of the mat on the right side, crossing over. Look back towards that left foot. Inhale, lengthen here, back to center. Exhale, bring the left knee in towards the chest, stepping the left foot forward between the hands. Inhale, rise. Exhale, cactus. Inhale, rise. Exhale, cactus. Inhale, expand. Exhale, soften, cactusing the arms, opening through the heart. Inhale. Exhale, lower the right hand down to the inside of the left foot, maybe on a block, a book, or flat on the mat. You can stay here with the back knee lowered, or you can tuck the back foot. Draw the back heel back as you straighten the back leg. Maybe taking a twist here, opening through the chest, and beginning to take those rotations through the arms, connecting with the breath. Maybe you close down the eyes here and focus on your internal experience of this posture, this movement. Take one more full round of breath. Bring the hands back to frame the front foot, remove the block if it's there. Lift the back knee if it's not already, and bring the left foot to make the right downward facing dog. Give a generous bend into the knees. Bring the gaze between the hands and walk forward. Little steps between the hands, coming into your forward fold at the front of the mat this time. Generous bend through the knees. Let the head and neck hang heavy. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Bring the hands to the hips, bend generously through the knees as you lift the shoulders to stack above the hips in your standing posture. Facing the front of your mat. Toes come to touch or feet stay hip distance apart. Roll the shoulders back and down. Fingertips extend strongly towards the earth. Zip up through the lower belly. Face is soft and relaxed. Maybe closing down the eyes for a moment. Opening the eyes if you feel you need, otherwise you can keep them closed until you need more guidance or balance. Inhale, arms rise in front of you, coming to touch above the head, maybe a gentle back bend through the upper back. Maybe you look up at the hands. Exhale, hands come through heart as you swoop down, bending the knees, hinging the hips back to your forward fold. From here, bring the feet hip distance apart if they're not already. And keeping that alignment through the hips and the legs, take a big step back with the right foot. You might need to bend the knees quite generously to bring the fingertips to the earth. From here, bend through both knees generously, press through the feet. Every point of contact with the earth is strong and grounded. Inhale, arms rise, body lifts. If you'd like to, you can stay here on the ball of the back foot. If you have a little bit more space and no lower back or knee sensitivities, you may like to lower the back heel so that the back foot is on a 45-degree angle, completely grounded on the earth. I'll change sides so you can see if you need. Right hip draws forward so that the pelvis is working towards being parallel with the front edge of your mat. Lower belly zips in and up, releasing load from the lower back. Shoulders draw back and down, maybe palms press together, and maybe your gaze lifts. Focus on keeping a strong bend through that front knee so that again you're bringing it above the heel if you can. This is Virabhadrasana 1, our Warrior 1 posture. A great posture for building a sense of empowerment and confidence in ourselves and our own inner strength, and power. If you'd like to, you can clasp the hands behind the back here, draw the hands gently away from the body, and maybe take a gentle back bend. Focus on opening through the heart and bending through the upper back, rather than taking a full back bend through the lower back as well. Maybe gaze lifts slightly. Stay strong and grounded through the legs, pressing through the feet to feel the muscles of the legs engage. Bring the gaze forward wherever you are, release hands to hips, and take a gentle step forward. Feet meet or at hip distance at the front of the mat. Take a moment in your Tadasana mountain pose, palms face forward or in towards the body. Notice the difference between the legs, between the right and left side of the body. Connect in with the feeling of your heartbeat here, your inner power. Inhale, arms rise up above the head, maybe a gentle back bend before flowing down, hands through heart, bending through the knees. Uttanasana, forward fold, head and neck hang heavy. Inhale, halfway lift, exhale, fold. Bring the feet to hip distance apart if they aren't already, and take a big step back with the left foot, grounding through the feet before inhaling to rise. You can lower the back heel if you did on the other side and it felt okay. Left hip draws forward, right hip draws back. Right knee draws forward, bending deeply, coming above the right heel. Maybe palms come to touch, maybe gaze lifts. If you'd like to, you can clasp the hands behind the back, unfamiliar grip through the fingers. Draw the hands away from you, opening through the chest. Maybe gaze lifts. Keeping integrity through the lower belly and lower spine. Finding that lift through the chest. Exhale, release. Hands come to hips wherever you are. Take a gentle step forward to the front of your mat. Rest in Tadasana again, closing down the eyes. Coming back to center, your inner stillness. Exhale the breath wherever it is. Inhale into the belly and the heart. Exhale, side out. Inhale, arms rise up above the head, maybe looking up if the neck allows. Exhale, hands through heart, hinge through the hips. Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the palms, step back however you'd like into your downward facing dog. Taking a moment here. Armpits keep drawing in towards each other. Keep pressing deeply into all surfaces of the hands. From here, begin to get light on your right foot as the heel lifts up and back, three-legged dog. Keep the hips exactly where they are in line, and right armpit keeps drawing down, like we did earlier in our tabletop. Inhale, knee to chest. Exhale, up and back. Inhale, knee to chest. Foot lands between the hands and sweep the arms up, crescent lunge. Before lowering the back heel down, opening towards the long edge of your mat into your warrior two. Right knee again is over and above the right heel. Maybe you take your gaze over the right fingertips. Draw the shoulders above the hips so you're not leaning forward too much here. And let the shoulders be relaxed back and down away from the ears. Imagine here that instead of struggling to keep your arms up, they might be feeling a bit sore by now. Imagine that there's a weight pushing your arms up from beneath you, and you need to keep the arms drawing down. Inhale, straighten the front leg, lift the hands up above the head, palms come to touch. Right foot points in to face the front of the room. And then heels draw together, hands through heart, lowering down into your goddess pose. Tailbone lengthens down towards the earth instead of sticking back out. Shoulders draw back and down. Inhale, cactus the arms, expand. Exhale, bend a little deeper, hands come back through heart. Inhale, expand. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, expand. Exhale, soften back into your warrior one. Left heel draws out towards the back of the mat. Inhale, front palm flips. Reverse your warrior light on the left hand, not relying on the leg to support you. Chest drawing up. Exhale, windmill the hands back to the earth. Press through the hands and step back into your downward facing dog. Inhale, now begin to get light on the left foot here as the heel draws back and down while everything else stays the same. Inhale, knee to chest. Exhale, up and back. Inhale, knee to chest. Foot lands between the hands however it can. Lifting to your crescent lunge for a moment. And exhale, right heel lands. Soften through the shoulders, open through the long edge of your mat. Looking over the left fingertips here, find your drishti, your point of focus. Generous bend through the front knee. Imagine that weight pushing your arms up and you need to keep them down in line with the shoulders. Inhale, front leg straightens, hands come above the head, drawing the heels towards each other and squatting down into your goddess. Hands to heart. Inhale, expand. Exhale, back to center. Inhale, expand. Exhale, back to center, drawing whatever you need in towards the body. Inhale, expand. Exhale, bring the hands to the hips this time. Bring the heels out so that they're a bit further out than the toes, so that the outside edge of your feet are parallel to the sides of your mat. Open the chest here, hands on hips. And as you exhale, hinge forward, bringing the front of the body parallel with the earth beneath you. You can lower the fingertips either to the earth beneath you or onto blocks or books or onto a chair if that's more accessible for you. If this is enough, please stay here. Otherwise, you may like to walk the hands between the feet and then let the head and neck hang heavy. Notice if your ego begins to creep up here, guiding what you're doing, instead of resting in that inner contentment, Santosha. I am enough, just as I am. If it feels safe, you may like to close down the eyes here. Focus on the inner experience of this posture. As we come to symmetry after our asymmetrical lunges and standing postures, as we begin to cool down the body in this forward fold. From wherever you are, inhale, halfway lift, lengthening through the spine. Bring the hands to hips, bend generously through the knees as you hinge up, shoulders stack above hips. From here, left toes face the front of your mat. Again, take a moment in your Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. And I did forget to reverse it on this side, so we'll inhale, flip the front palm, send the left arm up and back, painting the sky. Exhale, windmill back forward. Bring the left foot to meet the right, downward facing dog. Lower the knees and swing the legs over to your side. We're going to come into our peak pose for today's sequence. This is an incredible heart opener. It's called fish pose. Watch me do it first and then do it yourself. If you are familiar with it, you might like to go straight into it, but if you've never done this one before, please do watch it beforehand. There's a few variations here. If you do have any neck issues or anything through the spine that doesn't feel too comfortable in back bends, you can, if you prefer a bridge pose, hips lifted, go for that. You can also take a restorative version of our bridge with a block or a cushion under the hips, maybe even extending out the legs, watching out for any pinching through the lower back. Adjust as you need to find a comfortable back bend. Otherwise, a restorative variation of Matsyasana, or fish pose, uses the blocks. If you have a pillow, you might like to bring that under the chest, about at the bra line, and fold over that opening through the chest. Otherwise, you can also use blocks on any level. I like this second level. Some people prefer the lower level. You might like a block for your head if you have one, or a cushion. And again, you bring the first block underneath your bra line if you have one. If you don't, imagine where it would be under the chest. And find a release over that one and connect the head to the block behind you. Then you can extend the arms out and legs out. If you'd like to take full fish pose or the non-supported fish pose, you'll get a great release through that one. But if you don't have any props or you'd like to try this variation, begin with the legs bent, lift the hips and bring the hands in this V shape or W shape even under the hips. Draw the elbows in towards each other and take a seat on your wrists as much as you can. Extend the legs out here, pressing through the tops of the heels. Press through the forearms to lift the head and lightly rest the top of the head on the mat, not too heavily. Stay here as long as you like without moving the head, and then gently slide the head back. Release the hands by bending the knees, lifting the hips. Whichever variation you'd like to take, you can come into it now. I will talk you through the variation I just did one more time. So bring the knees up towards the ceiling, soles of the feet on the mat. Lift the hips, bring that V shape through the hands, underneath the hips, and then draw the elbows back. Fingertips are facing, extending out towards the heels. And then sit down on your wrists if you can, more than the hands. Extend their legs out long, flexing through the feet and pressing through the heels into the mat to engage through the legs. Press through the forearms and the hands as the chest lifts. Back of the head rests softly on the mat. Opening through the chest, the heart and the neck here. You may like to open and close through the mouth. Come out at any time if it begins to feel uncomfortable anywhere. Otherwise, keep breathing into the heart. And exhale, gently slide the head back, release off the blocks if you're on them, lower the hips if you're in bridge, and release the hands from under the hips if they are there. Come into a neutral spine position, knees bent. Notice the change in the body, maybe the energy you've cultivated. And then bring the knees in towards the chest, taking a moment in our seed posture, wrapping the arms around the calves or the shins, rocking side to side, massaging through the spine. And then taking your time, rolling over to one side and coming up into a seated position. Coming into Dandasana, our rod pose. So Remove the flesh from underneath your sitting bones so you can sit nice and tall. If you do have a rolled up blanket, towel, or even a block, if you do feel you're hunching a lot in this posture, you might like to sit on the edge of something to help encourage what's called an anterior tilt through the pelvis, that forward tilt that allows you to get long through the spine. Bring the fingertips by your hips as far away as you need to find length through the arms. It'll depend on the length of your arms. Shoulders back and down, closing down through the eyes. Knees can be slightly bent. Heels press down to engage through the quads. We'll come into a forward fold here. You can keep the eyes closed or open them for a moment. Lift the hands up above the head and notice how that forces you to find length through the spine. Keep that length as you begin to hinge the hips forward. You might stay about here and then you're welcome to lower the hands, but stay with that long spine, chin towards chest, lengthening through the neck. You might come a little bit further, but only go as far as you can keep that long line through the spine like we've got in our downward facing dog, in our Tadasana, our mountain pose. If with that long spine you can bring the torso to contact the tops of the thighs, that's not happening for me today, you can round through the chest, lower the head down. Otherwise keep the arms lifted, or at your edge, bring the fingertips down, closing down the eyes. This is Paschimottanasana, a great posture for introspection and building patience, because we've all been taught, or a lot of us have been taught, that success is found at the end of something. So in this posture, traditionally we look to reaching the toes, especially if we've grown up with things like dance or gymnastics or even some team sports. We learn that touching the toes is some sort of achievement, but news is for you. We don't find enlightenment or inner contentment when we touch the toes. Yoga is all about finding stillness and peace through the process. I am enough just as I am. Maybe take a moment to remind yourself of your sankalpa, your intention that you might have set at the beginning of the practice. Notice how maybe that's developed. Maybe it hasn't, that's okay. Come back to the breath here, taking perhaps a 4-count inhale, 6-count exhale. Exhale the breath wherever it is. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Continue like that with your own breath. You can shorten the time frames or lengthen them maybe to 6-count inhale, 8-count exhale, whatever is fairly easeful within the body. When we lengthen the exhale, we activate our parasympathetic nervous system response, that social engagement, openness, learning mode, where we're open to responding consciously to the world around us, rather than in a reactive, autonomic, autopilot way that we often do. Release the breath if you're still counting. Begin to walk the hands forward, back towards the body. Release any props that you are seated on. Bring the hips forward, sitting at the front of your mat so that you have space behind you to release back. Inhale, open through the chest, calibrating through the spine here with some seated cat-cows. Exhale, tuck back, chin to chest. That feels so good. Inhale, open. Exhale, rounding. Inhale, open. Exhale, lower back down, vertebra by vertebra onto your mat. Take a moment here, closing down the eyes, keeping that slow, conscious quality of breath. Bring the right ankle to the left thigh, just underneath the knee into a figure 4 position. Right foot is flexed to protect the right knee. Right knee draws away from your face. You can stay here, or you might like to lift the legs, clasp the hand between the back of the left thigh or calf, but keep the back of the body grounded from the pelvis through the shoulders up to the back of the head. Relaxed there, not pulling too much, but finding some sensation through that right hip. Coming off autopilot, slowing down the body through detaching from the external, whether that's the postures, the ego, other people, other activities. We begin to look inwards and find that there is always this light, this peace, this stillness within us that can be our fuel, our inner guide, constant source of contentment and satisfaction in this world. Keep the legs as they are and draw them over towards the left so that the right sole of the foot comes to the mat on the left, or comes to the floor on the left side of the mat, and both knees bend. Left knee is on top of the right foot. If this is too much, bring the knees to stack right leg on top of left, coming into a gentle twist that way, or into this figure 4 type twist. Shoulders ground. You might like to put a prop or pillow underneath the legs. Extend the right arm out and look over the right shoulder. Maybe the eyes remain closed. I am enough just as I am. I am enough just as I am. Coming back to center, untwisting the legs if they are twisted, and bringing the left ankle to the front of the right thigh, taking whichever variation through the legs and the arms as you did on the other side, or whichever works for this side. Taking this shape or whichever twist you would like over to the left, maybe shimming the hips, over to the right, maybe shimming the hips over to the left, and extending the left arm out, or in a cactus shape, looking over towards the left if the neck allows. Gentle twist through the spine, bringing out through the internal organs. come back to center. Take any pose you'd like. Maybe it's another seed pose, knees towards chest, a happy baby, anything that feels cool to you. Or immediately come out into your shavasana, legs extend long. Maybe there's a pillow or bolster under the knees. Feet splay out wide, shoulders draw in towards each other. Neck is long. Get comfy here. Be here for about 5 minutes. Allow yourself to simply be in this moment, completely present with yourself and what you've cultivated here today. Allow yourself to be that human being rather than a human doing, always flitting between different activities, to-do lists, people. Just be in this moment completely and wholly. Don't rush away from it. I'll guide you out when it's time. Gently bringing your attention back to the body, but remaining in stillness for a moment. Stay here in this stillness and silence for a little bit longer. Begin to take some conscious deep breaths into the belly. And when it feels right for you, you may like to begin to wriggle the fingers and toes, taking any stretches or gentle movements. And taking your time, there's no rush at all. Rolling over onto your preferred side, supporting the head with your arm, drawing the knees in towards the chest into a fetal position. This position of vulnerability, maybe safety and security, that is reminiscent of a position we may have been in the womb before we began to get influenced by the world, before any conditioning began. That you, that authentic self is still there within you. I am enough just as I am. I am enough just as I am. I am enough just as I am. Taking your time, come up to a comfortable seat, keeping the attention inwards, eyes closed or downcast, sitting cross-legged or on your heels, maybe a prop supporting you. We won't be here for long. Bring one hand over the heart, the other over the belly. Take a deep breath, starting in the belly and rising into the heart, hands lift. Exhale, side out. One more like that. Inhale. Exhale. Thank yourself for creating space for you to unwind, to learn more about yourself, to come inward, to cultivate a peace that you can always find. Thank you so much for practicing with me. Namaste.